What's up, dude? What's going on? I know we've been talking a lot about woodworking lately, so I figured I'd give you a little walkthrough of the garage shop I have going right now. It's a bit of a mess, but it's my Zen zone. So yeah, I'll give you a little walkthrough. I'm gonna turn the camera around here. Let's see where to start. I got this little room in here, which I haven't really decided what I'm gonna do with. It's just kind of like a shop overflow place. Might turn it into like a spray room for when I'm putting on finishes and such. A bunch of scrap wood, got a little 3-gallon oilless compressor with a brad nailer on here. It's like one of the most indispensable tools that I use at the moment. I wish I had gotten one before. Makes putting together little projects so much easier. I built this lumber cart maybe about a month ago or so. I just had all this lumber sitting around unorganized. So I put together all these bins for little scrap stuff, lots of pallet offcuts. Some of the nicer domestic woods that I've gotten from retailers like maple, white oak, some cherry in there. Over on the back of this thing, I got bungee cords to secure all of these larger panels that I got. Yeah, this thing is awesome just in terms of organizing, keeping clutter out of the shop. It's huge. Let's see, I got this little shitty 10-inch Ryobi table saw for cheap when I first moved in and I was making workbenches and stuff, but I've been trying to upgrade it. I got a nice 10-inch Diablo blade on here. The blade makes a huge difference. And I built this cool little cross-cut sled. And a cross-cut sled, it sits in the grooves of your table saw there, and it allows you to essentially line up any piece of wood stock. I'll just grab an example here. Put it up against there and you have like a guaranteed 90-degree angle relative to your saw blade. And so you can just kind of slide it through. This thing is awesome. Just sort of guarantees that you get like perfect 90-degree cuts every time. Huge. My little rigid shop vac, which aside from cleaning up the shop, kind of serves as dust collection. I can attach the hose here to a lot of the hand tools I have. Save some dust from getting in the air. Another little shitty Ryobi miter saw. This thing I dropped and the fence, which you probably can't see very well, cracked. So I need to get a new one of these guys. We got a little rolling storage cart under there too. You'll probably notice a theme of like shitty Ryobi tools. I know it's a mess to buy tools that aren't good because you end up regretting it a year later, but when I was first moving in and wanted to get some of this stuff, I just didn't have the cash to spend on nicer stuff. But a lot of this is still good, and like this this drill press is pretty legit. It served me well. I'm thinking about building a little better shelf guide for it here at some point. I built all these little like modular carts. Like you notice the table saws on one. I got a couple more of these. They're great for like a small shop. Just put them on. I got these double locking casters. So I mean, I can keep this off to the side, roll it around whenever I need it. I got plenty of like space here in the middle that I can actually work on projects. And these double locking casters I mentioned, I got a bunch of them on all my different stuff. They not only lock the wheel from spinning, but the actual caster turning mechanism from rotating this way too. So you can lock stuff down. That was a good idea I came up with. This is a little Rikon 10-inch bandsaw. I won this at a contest, a shelving contest on this website, Instructables, that I do a lot of stuff on. It's a good little bandsaw. My only complaint about it is the max cutting depth is pretty low. It's about a little over 4.5 inches. So resawing stock is a little bit tough. Like I've got a lot of these nice boards here. So like I got some hard maple here. This is like just small enough that I'll be able to resaw this and turn this into like some nice little boards for tabletops and stuff like that. So it's a decent little bandsaw for turning. I got a few different blades depending on the type of stock I'm cutting. But this is definitely when you're trying to do some nicer edges and actually do curves on pieces of wood, it's a great tool. Another little modular thing, I built this workbench when I first first moved out here. It's sturdy as fuck. It's on those double locking casters like I talked about before. I built it out of just basically 2x4s and MDF, and then on top I got this tempered hardboard. You can see it's super thin. It's like $10 for a 4x8 sheet at any of like the big box stores like Home Depot, Lowe's. It's great because it's pretty scratch resistant, moisture resistant, and if it ever gets to the point where it just gets covered in, you know, stain and oil, or gets scratched up from like a saw blade that I wasn't paying attention to, I can just take the thing off, just unscrew it, slap another one on there. It's perfect. Working on a little project for a coworker of mine. His wife found this old window at a garage sale or something. He wants to turn it into like a little storage cabinet for his bathroom, so I'm going to build like a pine case for it with some shelves inside. I think it'll turn out nice. A bunch of little hand tools down here. I just store them on the bottom of the cart. This is a Fane Multi-Master oscillating tool set. I won that in a project too, or a contest too. It's awesome for little tight spaces, all sorts of saw blades and sanders and grinders and stuff that I can use. Little 15 amp skill saw, reciprocating saw, nothing fancy. I think $60 I bought when I first moved out here. A little cheap ass jigsaw that I've had since I lived in Austin, and I've been wanting to upgrade, but it does the trick for what I want. Little tiny cut off pieces. A couple routers. This nice little fixed base Porter cable router. It's super heavy duty. It can like cut through hardwoods in no time. But it's a little clunky, so I got this little DeWalt. It's a great little compact router. Yeah, for doing stuff by hand when I just want to be able to round over corners or do any sort of edge work. To be able to use this with just one hand is huge. This is probably my most used tool in the shop. Just a little DeWalt random orbit sander. If you don't use one of these, you definitely should invest in one. It's probably the best little handheld sander I've come across, and saves you a ton of time when you're trying to just clean up big stock. Then I got this little Win combo belt and disc sander. So it's got a belt sander on top, disc sander on the bottom, with a couple of straight edge guides for it. This stuff is great when you just got stock that you just need to clean up, super rough stuff. Trying to get 90-degree angles, this disc sander is great. So yeah, lots of little hand tools. Some storage up there for hacksaws and all that sort of stuff. Another workbench here. When I built this originally, I designed it so that this workbench is low enough and it's on casters that it can actually slide under this workbench. I used to be in a single stall garage. Space was tight. Now I got a lot more room in here. You can see a lot more floor space that's usable. So I don't really store it under there too much. Got some live edge slabs that I bought from an online realtor called the Lumber Shack. Some of this stuff's pretty pricey, but you can find good deals for relatively cheap when they're trying to do clearance and stuff. This one's a nice little walnut live edge slab here. I ripped the edge here. I think I want to make this into a floating shelf, but it's got a pretty big crack, so I'm working on some butterfly keys. Essentially the idea is you cut a shape something like this, and this is just a little scrap. I'll build a better one. And then you route out a recess that this will fit into, sort of hammer it down into that recess, add a little quick set epoxy, and yeah, you put a couple of these along the edge of the crack. It'll keep it from spreading, and kind of looks cool. If you Google butterfly key and wood, you'll see a lot of good stuff. Some clamps here, little Irwin side clamp, and a nice little bench clamp here, which is great for holding stock together if I'm doing any like hand planing or anything. Storage, whole bunch of bits. It's my Dremel pocket hole jig, which is a great little joinery thing. If you're trying to put together table legs or picture frames and you want to hide the screws, it's a good option. All sorts of Forstner bit sets. These are used for cutting holes in a piece of wood if you just want like a flat recess. Great to do those real quick. Router bits, whole bunch of drill bits, a little pocket hole jig. This thing's cool. Or not a pocket hole jig, I'm sorry. It's a, what's it called? A little dowel jig. So it basically allows you to, oh no wait, sorry. This is the pocket hole, the other one's the dowel one. So it's similar to this other guy. You basically just like clamp this up to a piece of wood on the edge, use this drill bit to drill holes into the piece of wood, and it just gives a little recessed hole. I might have a piece around here I can show you what that looks like. This is my dowel kit. So essentially you've got a couple pieces of lumber. You want to attach them together. So let's say, here I'll show you an example. I've got a couple live edge slabs I'm working on here for side tables. This one's a nice piece of red cedar. So the idea with these guys is, move stuff around here. So it was just one thick, like 2-inch slab, pretty much like that. And so I took it to a wood shop that I go to, where I get a lot of like my nice lumber, and had them resaw it just straight down the line with a bandsaw. So then you make what's called a book match table. So you just sort of open it up like this, and since it was cut from the same piece of wood right down the middle, you have this sort of mirrored look. Let me get a better angle here. So it almost looks like a mirror image of one another. So it should be pretty cool. I've got another live oak one over there that I'm working on. But so if I want to essentially join these two together, there's a few options. You know, I'm trying to join along this inner seam here, so can't really screw it from the bottom. Wood glue is only going to get you so far. So you use these doweling jigs. Attach each piece of stock in here, you clamp it down. You've got a couple different hole cutting guides depending on the size of the dowel you want to use. You cut those holes so that they match up, and then you use these little dowel plugs that you put some glue in there and hammer them together. Clamp them down, super strong joint. It's a good cheap way to avoid having to buy like a mortiser or something like that. Bunch of other stuff, respirator, sanding pads, all sorts of storage for screws and wood glue. I keep a little espresso can here from old espresso grounds that I keep all my like rusted out nails that I pull out of there. Let's see what else. We got a little handheld belt sander, which is great for like big stock that I just want to kind of grind down off the rough edges. This is a little Drill Master handheld planer that I bought. It's not particularly great, but you can see what it does is it's got these planer cutting heads here, and so it just spins at a super high RPM. You kind of line it up so that this metal bearing edge is flat against the wood, and if you have any sort of imperfections where it's a rough piece of wood and it's not exactly flat, it's kind of got some peaks and valleys, this will sort of flatten that out, which is nice. Working on a little cutting board here. This is I think it's sapele, some ash, maple, a little bit of red cedar, and then I got some nice white oak, quarter-sawn white oak on the edge here. This grain pattern will look really nice when it's planed up nice and flat. So gonna have to clamp that down, glue it up, take it over to a buddy's house who's got like a nice little 13-inch planer, and get it set up there. Little clamping station. I don't have nearly enough clamps. A couple bar clamps, a few little just Irwin quick grip, the squeezable kind, and some C clamps. I need more. You can never have too many clamps. I built this little like modular workstation a while ago. The idea was, before I had all these guys set up, I wanted a place where I could throw, you know, like my miter saw, my drill press, even my table saw on top of this thing, and basically have a larger work area. So I built, and it doesn't work very well, but these sides expand out here, and I drilled some holes into the actual face of this guy so I could mount those big, larger tabletop pieces on there. This side shelf opens up, adds like a little outfeed table area, which is cool. This stuff is great. It's just this little painter's, I don't even know what to call it. It's like a cloth paper tarp. Throw this down over the top of my workbench when I'm doing any sort of like staining or putting on a clear coat. It's great to kind of keep my surface away so I'm not actually getting stain all over my workbenches. And just kind of fold it up and keep it off to the side when I'm not using it. But yeah, this guy's cool. It's got doors on each side, some cubby holes, little drawers, which are empty at the moment because I just upgraded space. All sorts of stuff in there. Another router. There's a reciprocating saw. These are a bunch of grinding, sanding pads for when I'm trying to sharpen up knife edges or chisels or planes. I mentioned this white oak. This is the other live edge slab that I got resawn that I'm looking to make a tabletop out of. So some cool grain figure there. Nice little live edge with a little bit of bark on there. Not sure how I'm going to finish this one up yet. It's coming along. These guys, I'm working on this, it's an ottoman that I got a drum shell, a nice little steel drum shell, and built these kind of fake rims for it. So I drilled holes with my Forstner bits. I'm going to put lugs in there, attach them to the drum, build some legs, through a little circular cushion I'll try to upholster. I think it'll look cool. I'll send you a picture when it's done. All sorts of mounting stuff. I got a cool little propane torch. There's this Japanese woodworking style called shoshugiban, and you essentially take a piece of wood and you just torch the outside of it. And it kind of makes it, it's this traditional Japanese way of making it kind of waterproof and bug proof, but it looks really cool too. So I actually haven't tried it yet, but that's on the docket for this summer. All sorts of straight edges, some squares, this little carpenter square. If you don't have something like this, it's great. All sorts of good measurements. It's kind of hard to figure out initially what all these measurements mean with all the different angles, but it's great for doing any simple cuts. It's got a nice little straight edge here, so you can line stuff up, draw it out. Yeah, it's a rafter square is what it's called. All sorts of storage for screws and hooks and washers, etc. Let's see what else we got. I got this gripper. This is great if you're using on your table saw. You're cutting stock, and you want to have a good, secure grip on something when you're cutting it, right? So you don't want it to waver and be, flush up against the saw blade as you're cutting, but it's dangerous because you get your digits in the way, and it's not good. So this guy is great. It's got this nice dense rubber on the bottom, and it makes a really good bond. I can't even move this thing when I press down on it. It's got this recess built in, so as I'm cutting this piece of stock, the saw blade just slides right under there. Save your hands. It's called a gripper. Pretty cool. All sorts of little hand tools, chisels, hammers, mallets, pry bars, all that sorts of stuff. This is a cool circle cutting jig for your router. You attach the router base here. Find the size that you want by inches, and then fractions of an inch, and you put a little pin in one of these, drill a hole in your piece, and this whole thing just sort of rotates around that pin. That's how I was able to cut these guys out with my router. Nice straight edges on there. If you don't have a gripper, these are also good little push blocks. You can use these for your table saw or your bandsaw, whatever it may be. Just kind of line it up on the edge of the wood, and it allows you to push through your piece while keeping your hands out of the way. Couple jigs, got a little clamping, angle clamping jig up there, which is nice and helpful. These guys are awesome. My dad had one when I was growing up. It's this little Black & Decker Workmate Project Vice. It sets up like similar to a sawhorse. Hold on a second. So it sets up similar to a sawhorse. You can lay stock on top. Great for if you just, you're working outside in your patio or your yard or something, you just want some space there. But it's got these clamps on the side where you can actually clamp down using this vise function a piece of wood. So if you just want to secure something or you're drilling into it or sawing it, whatever, they're pretty cheap. I think they're like 25, 30 bucks. I got a couple of them. If you don't have like a dedicated workspace, I highly recommend those. Yeah, lots of stains, polyurethane finishes here in this this area, wood glue. A buddy of mine is a big time woodworker. He's kind of been mentoring me through a lot of this stuff, and he's got these great Stanley planes. So I got, this is a number 5, which is kind of like the classic hand plane. This is a number 7 joiner plane, which is a much longer piece for when you're joining edges. But they're super, once you get the technique down, they're super easy to work with, but they're super hard to get started on. Essentially, if you don't know too much about them, there's a blade that sits in here, comes out the other side. You have the ability to change the angle of that as well as the depth that it cuts into, and so then you're just scraping shavings off and they'll come out in a little spiral pattern. It's really cool to see like a pro work with, but a nice sort of classic hand tool. Yeah, man, so that's it. Little bench here that I bought for cheap at a little Goodwill. It's got all sorts of imperfections that need to be fixed, but it's nice chromatic cedar on the inside. So I think I'm gonna refinish this one, get it up and running. So yeah, man, that's the shop. Good stuff. I spend probably 20-25 hours a week out here on my days off and before work, like today. I love this place. Like I said, it's my Zen zone. Maybe one day we'll have our own. So yeah, man, take care. We'll talk to you later.